Welcome to The Landlady Listens. The podcast where we talk all things real estate, development, and the mindset it takes to build your dream life.
Okay, hey guys. It's Landlady.
I'm your host, Meg Hayden, real estate broker, new construction expert, and a believer in making big visions into a reality. So if you're ready to build it, dream it, and live it, let's dive in. Hey guys, it's Meg Hayden from The Landlady Listens. We are so excited. We have beautiful Danielle Alba and Stephen London here today, and we are going to talk about Airbnbs, how to invest, what to make sure you think of before you invest, and also to make sure that it's the right investment for you. So welcome, guys. How are you?
I'm so excited to be here.
Hell yeah.
It's going to be a great convo, and I think the three of us and the synergy is going to really produce some great content, so tune in.
Absolutely. So why don't you guys just introduce yourselves? Ladies first.
Of course.
I like it. I am Danielle, the Airbnb queen. I got into Airbnb back in 2020 is when I officially purchased my first one. Fast forward, I don't know, 10 to 15 properties, and 5 years later, here I am.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, it's my name's Stephen London from Casas Collective. So I first got into Airbnb around the same time, 2020. When I started, it was Arbitrage with the rentals. And then,
Can you explain a little bit about arbitrage?
Yeah. So great question. So when I started, essentially I was able to take properties that I didn't own at the time, or didn't own in general, right? And I could guarantee a set amount of, I'd pay the rent or set income or whatever the case may be, and kind of make the difference between what I would make on Airbnb and kind of what would I pay to the landlord. Fast forward, I own 12 properties myself, built a portfolio of Airbnbs, and so I do mostly Airbnbs on properties that I own, but I also have a few that I manage as well. And so we'll get into the two sides of it, and I think one thing I focus more on is midterm rentals. And I do some short-term, but I focus on midterm. And I know Danielle does a lot of short-term. So I think the duality of the two of us is going to really be nice.
That's why I made this happen. I was like, this will be a perfect conversation. So talk to me about that specifically. You're talking about short-term rentals and midterm rentals. And I think the way that you're going to invest or look at properties is also going to be different dependent on what you're looking to do.
Mm-hmm. So for me, I do a lot of both now. I do the short term as well as the midterm, specifically because some towns have shifted and they're not allowing short term. So I had to shift in those towns because I do own the properties. So it was either sell or pivot with the times.
I always say real estate is to have and to hold. You do not sell those babies.
Because these are in like Newport, like coastal Rhode Island. So I do a little bit of both. I will say short term is really my preferred space in the vacation rental market. It's where I enjoy it more. It's where I can do the type of properties that I prefer to do. I prefer like a large scale home, 4 bedrooms minimum. I want properties that are large and like an experience in and of themselves. Short term where people are vacationing on a regular basis. The midterm, it's a whole different animal.
What is midterm though?
30 days or more.
Yeah, so midterm, it's become a little more popular because a lot of towns and municipalities have had regulations against under 30 days. Mm-hmm. And so to subset that, you can still kind of do anything 30 days or more. So midterm now is like, it's a different type of guest, right? And they're coming for different reasons and different purposes. Mm-hmm. And so you cater to it a little differently, but it's still that guest experience. So,
and something I mean, I think that's something that's really cool about Danielle. Like some of your portfolios is, yes, they're in New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and one of them is actually like a Taylor Swift experience, which I'm like, where did you even get that from?
That was a fun one. In Watch Hill, so right around the corner from
In Westerly.
where she lives.
Yep.
In Westerly.
For those who don't know.
Right. And I brought in a co-designer for that project, and we were just brainstorming on ideas on what to do with this property. And she actually said, let's make the game room like a lean towards Taylor Swift since we're in this location. And when I went home that night, it was just like
a light bulb.
It was like a lightning storm. It was more than a light bulb. It was like lightning storm because if you're a Taylor Swift fan, you know that
Who isn't?
Oh my goodness.
Who isn't, he's saying. Who isn't? Who isn't?
No, who isn't?
Okay.
Who isn't?
She's like, are you living under? No.
She has, at the time she was on her tour.
Yeah.
And on her tour, in the background, she always had the Lover House. And it went off my brain like, oh my God, this property is the exact layout of the Lover House.
Stop.
So I'm just going to go all in and recreate the Lover House. We made a fishbowl bed. My carpenter came in and made this custom fishbowl bed. We have chairs upside down on the ceiling. I mean, it was a fun project for sure.
We have to go see. I want to go see that.
Wild.
I want to go.
It's a wild one.
We could have had the podcast at the Taylor Swift house.
Well, we were actually talking about that. We were like, well, where are the podcast going to be? Oh no, you had asked me like what to wear, and I was like hot top, but my thing just said hot tub. I was like voice to text, and they're like, we can do this at our hot tubs at our Airbnbs. I was like, of course. So. Speaking of that, why don't we get into speaking of hot tubs, why don't we get into some of the expenses that you don't necessarily think of when you're running an Airbnb? Or all the expenses, actually, and then the ones that stuck up on you.
Yeah, I'll start with that, and then we can kind of go back and forth and so forth. I think that Airbnb is that term where, like, it's a buzz term. It gets people really excited, and I think they underestimate the time and the energy that, as a host, you have to put in. And especially if you don't have good systems, and I know we'll get into the systems. And then also the expenses that are like all the little things that you don't necessarily amortize, right? So like I renovate these properties, I dump in $100,000 and I'm not going to charge you. Like if the guest breaks something and it's evident, great. Airbnb has coverage for that and we'll work with the guests or whatever the case may be. But I realize a lot of these things are deteriorating and I can't really kind of amortize that properly with the guest. And then all the little like expenses as far as time and money that we don't, just managing it, contacting guests, systems, who are doing the runs, errands. Like I think if you do the work prior and if you build the systems, then it's much more seamless. But what happens all too often is that people get into this, especially on their first Airbnb, and now like a guest needs an extra towel and they don't have a supply closet. So they have to drive to Ocean State job lot and grab a towel. And so this now menial task takes an extra hour or two. And so really understanding like in order to have a good guest experience, you need to be there for the guest, and you almost need to think ahead of like what will the guest need. And some of the best advice I received, it was from a guest. She had said, why don't you live in your Airbnbs before you make them go live? And initially I was like, oh, it's like a one-off, we forgot XYZ. But then I realized that every new listing that I had, it literally needed like a couple more things. So now what I do is when I have a new Airbnb,
I will be your guest.
I live in it for 3 days. So, and if people want to take me up on that, we'll do that. We'll have you can stay for free for a day or two, but then you'd have to give me a report like, hey, what do we need inventory, little things that you don't think of, extra bowls or like hand mitts to take something hot out of the oven. Something as simple as that can really like deter the phenomenal guest experience and what we're looking for.
Right.
Would you resonate with that?
So I love that you said that. I started doing that with my first Airbnb, but what I do is I invite all of my, groups of friends, and I have them come stay, because now I get more than just my opinion. I get all of their opinion, and I tell them, give me the harsh truth. Don't tell me anything that you like about the house. Only tell me what's missing and what you don't like.
Nice. I like
And now it's, oh, I wish the side table on the bed was larger or higher or shorter or whatever, right? And that's how I fine tune. So I love that you do that, because I do that as well. But bring in some friends. I know Meg wants to join the party.
I was going to say, I see why you're friends with her, Meg.
And it's nice because everyone gets a free stay, but now you get to get these automatic 5-star reviews because you got feedback from so many different walks of life.
What a great idea.
So great. But with the expenses, so I know a lot of people just think about like the usual stuff, right? Like utilities and linens and all the things. Which linens, I do 3 sets. I kind of do A, B, and C for everything. I have an A, B, and C cleaner, a plumber, my towels, my linens. Like
she's 3D.
Everything is 3. And 3D. But with expenses, there have been a couple things through the years that have come up more in my short-term space than the midterm. I feel like midterm, it's a little lighter on the amenities list. I feel like short-term are so demanding.
Yeah.
Some of them are princesses. But I've seen like things like face cloths. I run out of face cloths all the time.
I never
What are we
use a
doing
face
with the face
cloth.
cloths?
I don't.
Are we throwing them away? Are we keeping them?
Probably.
What are we doing? Spoons. The forks stay. The knives stay. The spoons leave the property.
Well, it's because they're taking them out to the beach to eat whatever they're eating at your house and like leaving it somewhere.
So those are like my 2. And I understand the face cloths. I was getting these like cute, they're like black and they say makeup. So they wouldn't get their makeup on like my lighter colored towels. And then they must have thought it was cute and they kept it.
See, people are getting swag.
I guess.
You go too cute, then you
Too cute, they take
doesn't
it.
work. But if you don't, then you get a complaint about it. So
Right. But I thought those are 2 kind of like odd expenses that I just didn't. Of course, replacing things that get the wear and tear, fine. But just like the heavy load of these things like completely running out is just odd.
So what are you switching them like once a month essentially, or a couple times a week?
Because I buy
in bulk.
3D. So buying 3 sets of everything. But yeah, they go missing all the time.
One thing I will say is also not, because we're not visiting the properties in between checkouts, right? It's our cleaners, it's our team. So they don't account for things the same way we do.
Right.
And what I've realized is like things will go missing, and not because, I mean, guests are phenomenal. Like Airbnb guests are, for the most part, 99% are wonderful. But they accidentally or purposely or whatever the case may be, typically accidentally, will take things and you don't realize it. I just had a property last week where I happened to kind of stop by the property because my cleaners were like, oh, it's all set, but they sent me pictures. That's part of the process. And I noticed that all the beds were white, and we don't have, like, all our beds are not white duvet covers. So I purposely was like, I'm going to stop in because my partner, who usually kind of, I'll send him for little things like that, I was like, I felt like I needed to go. The pictures looked off. When I went, all the duvet inserts were there, but no duvet covers. And I asked the cleaners, and they were like, yeah, we were like confused. We were thinking maybe you do this house differently. And like, we've done this house, and it was one of those things where I think it was an accident, but the previous guest, I messaged them and they were like, sorry, we had our laundry and it must have got mixed in there. They took all the duvet covers of all the beds. And so like the next guest was checking in within a few hours. And because we had the system to be like, okay, we have extra duvet covers, XYZ, it was okay, and we were able to resolve that. But I know early on when we didn't have those systems, that would have been like a nightmare. We were 2 hours away, and a new duvet cover has to be washed. So
do you guys have like checklists then for everything that typically goes into an Airbnb at this point?
Yeah, so
pretty much.
Yeah. And I think that's actually a huge valuable piece is go through it and say, hey, what is everything I have in checklist, and then even add it into an Excel sheet and add links to the Amazon page or whatever. So that way, if you have to reorder or re-go through it, you can kind of go ahead and just quickly do it seamlessly.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me about the two ways that you guys got into it. The rental arbitrage, which is basically like you go to the landlord, you let them know, hey, I'm going to rent out this property. Actually, how do you have that conversation with the landlords when you first got started?
Great. Yeah. So when I was younger, before even Airbnb, I started when I was 19 years old with some rental arbitrage. And I didn't even think of it as real estate at the time. I was attending Bryant University. I had an apartment, and I realized like, hey, the roommates and I cover it at XYZ cost, but I can really rent them out for X price. So when I was 19, that's kind of where I started with some rental arbitrage. Over time though, and I'll circle back to the conversation, over time as I grew a few more kind of rental arbitrage units, I realized that like I really want the power and control, and I don't want someone kind of being able to just cancel my business, right? So I definitely made that strategic mindset shift to say like there was a time where I was making $10,000 profit a month when I was like 21, and I didn't own any of the properties. And so it was like, okay, I'm making this money, but my business can be canceled, and so I really want control of my business. And so I started making the shift to purchasing. But the way I have that conversation is I say, hey, XYZ landlord, like you have a beautiful home, love what you're doing, like or love this home, this is a great location. I usually pitch it like it was something I was looking at possibly for me, but I also run this Airbnb business where I help landlords earn a little bit of extra income than normally what they'd get. And it usually works one of two ways. I say, I want to know what's important to you. Are you looking to just have this filled and your rent guaranteed? Or are you looking to kind of have the opportunity to make a little more income? And so depending on that conversation, what I'll do is I'll either, in conversation A, I'll guarantee the rents, right? And so might even pay them if I have to. As a negotiating tool, I use this. I'll pay you 6 months up front, or I'll even pay you the whole year, right? And having the capacity. Granted, so if someone's like, hey, my unit's $2,000 a month, if I can write them a $24,000 check, then they're like, wow, your rent is guaranteed. And I reassure them like we have top-notch reviews, top-notch guests, so your place will be okay. And if you want to come see it every so often for your comfort, you'll be able to see that. So I think that really buys a lot. What I will say is in negotiation with anything, we have to know like things are a tool. You don't have to give someone something. So oftentimes when I say I'll pay the full year's rent, right? If they do kind of being pushed or if they do lean in that direction, I'd say, great, we've done this and we'll do this. But I often get a little bit of a discount, a 5 or 10% discount, because I want to make a return on my money. And if it comes down to it and they're like, that's the only way I'll do it, okay, that's fine, and I will do that. But what I do find is I say, we'll guarantee your rent. And if they choose that option, you give me 5 or 10%. I mean, that's like me making 5 or 10% on 23,000, right? So that's conversation one. Conversation two is I have a matrix and I talk about, okay, do you want a guaranteed base and then we can kind of have a revenue share above that? Or is there no guaranteed base and then we can revenue share the whole thing? So if it's not booked at all, you get nothing for that month, right? So it's almost like 2A and 2B. Mm-hmm. So what most landlords will do is do 2A. So they'll do like, okay, I want a guaranteed base. If that unit usually rents for $2,000 a month, we might be $1,400 a month or $1,500 a month. But then I'll have a revenue share, so they have the upwards to make up to $2,800 or $2,900. But I know that I can get $4,000 or $5,000 a month for that particular listing, or as low as $3,000, right? And so knowing your numbers is so important in this game. Knowing what is the minimum amount of money that I want to yield in order for it to be worth my time, because as Buy Back Your Time says, Dan Martell's book, knowing the value of your time is the most important thing you can do. And really going into saying, okay, for this to be worth it to me, I need X, and I want to do way more than X. And so I think by coming with options, it really makes the landlord feel more comfortable, rather than the newbie Airbnb arbitrager who says, hey, I want to manage your house and I'll put it on Airbnb and I'll make money for me, right? So the landlord you're not speaking his language. You have to find out what's important.
Well, that's in every negotiation is how important it is to the other person, putting yourself in their shoes. So that leads us like right into a great question. So like when you're either arbitraging or purchasing real estate, where are you looking to invest your money? Like, what are the things that are important to you? I know you mentioned like size, but what else?
So for me, we'll start with location, right? So I describe it as this. I want classic vacation areas that people have gone since pre-Airbnb days, right? These are places that have existed before these websites, and they'll exist after these websites. It's places where people go in a group and they want to rent a home. I don't want a 1 or 2 bedroom that's competing with hotels like in a city. I don't want that, because now my nightly rate has to be low. I'm not going to get the quality of renters that I want.
Too much competition.
Yeah. So I want like large groups, large homes. I look at it as full picture. Also, like, investing in this property, I also want something that has potential to gain really good equity, a nice portfolio to have all of these kind of like luxury vacation properties.
But it's also like, I mean, when you're traveling and you're going on vacation, it's usually going to be like multiple people, like multiple families. So
Right.
why, it's just better if you can all be together in one space and enjoy it together.
Right. And I feel like a lot of people have really like leaned into that now, but there are certain markets where people just prefer the hotel or the resort, right? And we touched on the Caribbean a little in the hallway there. And, depending where you are in the Caribbean, a lot of people, they want to go to the resort and stay at the resort because of various reasons, right? So do I want a property there where I'm competing with the resort and all of their amenities and everything?
So you're
It's
looking
a
at
little tough.
competition.
I'm looking at the competition. I'm looking at the location. I want something long-standing. And then, I mean, there's even a personal touch where I'm like, is this a place that I would like to go stay?
Yeah.
Because my long-term plan is to eventually block out time at all of these properties and kind of jump around and do life, right? But I just see if I enjoy going with my friends and family, other people are going to enjoy it as well. I do like a touch of like a little luxury, so it doesn't have to be super luxe, but just a little luxury, so I get maybe like a more responsible group who's willing to pay a little more for a nicer property. And usually I have less headaches. Every so often, people that follow me definitely see the party post that I put
The
up
panties, the leftover panties.
Every
Yeah,
so often
yeah.
there's something. But yeah, I do
Hand
that. And
marks
then
on the window with the panties on the couch.
yeah. And then I do also have like a little backup that I look into. I like them to be near like colleges, because we've seen it happen here in Rhode Island with changes in laws and ordinances. And I say, what's the worst case scenario? Let's say they totally shut down the short-term rentals. What is the next best thing in the rental world, right? A long-term renter is market rent, but student rentals are a bit higher.
Yeah.
And they'll take the furnished, and I won't have to like take everything out. So I like that lean, like definitely
Just in
vacation
case.
market, but close enough to a good college university where that can be my absolute like fallback plan if need be.
But you were talking a little bit about luxury. So, like, what touches do you do to your Airbnb to really have that essence for the client?
So I just put like nicer furniture.
Is there like a welcome package that I feel like there's got to be a little?
I don't do the welcome package. Not at the short term.
I do it for the
Rentals.
midterms, not for the short terms.
Yeah, for the short term, it's too much. Like, for knowing the value of your time, right? It's not worth my time. It's not worth my cleaner's time. It's gonna be like the renter's gonna check in and say, "Oh, that's nice," but they're more concerned with, like my place in Narragansett. It's oceanfront. We have restoration hardware furniture in there. It's
Nice.
the nicer touch, right? And that makes such an impact when you're staying there. You don't feel like it's discount furniture. Like, it adds to the stay. So I do those things. I put like, there's a Breville coffee machine. Like I stretch a little to make it a better experience and make them want to come back. And then even like, for example, the New Hampshire market it feels a little easy to do that because there's far and few in between luxury and the White Mountains. So when you go out there, my properties definitely stand out.
Awesome. So going back to the location though, and your investment, what is your process?
So I want to touch on something you said because I think it is so valuable, and I heard this. The $50 a night guest will give you 100 complaints.
Mm-hmm.
The $1,000 a night guest, you won't hear a peep. They'll check in, check out, all is well. And I think it's the difference. And people always ask me, hey, is Airbnb dead? Right? Have you heard that before? I've had people who aren't in this business who actually have told me they want to get into it, send me links about some podcast saying Airbnb's dying. And to which I respond, the difference is there's a fight to quality. All right? And so if you look at it, when we started in 2020, and hey, listen, I've come a long way. So I was one of those people in 2020, you'd have a bed and a dresser. And there was no wall art, there was no design, there was no je ne sais quoi touch, right? And to now, it's like the Airbnbs that are performing, that are driving the revenue, that are thriving, are the ones that
are businesses.
You have it. They're businesses, but they have care and touch,
intention.
And like, for example, we put in Nespresso latte makers or coffee machines. And having, like, people love their morning lattes, and having some turmeric and having some oat milk and some other options. I mean, granted, they buy their own milk products or whatever the case may be, but being able to make and having a little recipe card. Hey, here's how do you make a golden milk latte. Here's how you make a honey lavender latte. So those little right? Because some people have never had lattes that cool. So we provide the tool, which is here's your Nespresso machine, right? And then here's 2 cards, and here are the ingredients you need.
That's a good idea. Where are they? Like, are they like laminated? What are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're laminated cards, and they're in the shelf right under it. And so it's in the check-in details. Like, hey, check under. In each property, we kind of change a little bit. We have different cards. But now it's like it's almost like we made the latte for them. And we talk about valuing our time. And so sometimes people think you need to give them the fish. But no, it's really we have to teach them how to fish, and in its own way, it makes an experience. And so we touch on the different senses, the emotional sense of like creating, right? Like you teach a kid how to cook. It's that experience. And so, like, have you ever had a golden milk latte? Well, right?
No.
To stay at one of the Airbnbs and check the card.
Check the card.
Check the card for some turmeric.
Then the empowerment to be like, wow, I made that. Right? And so now you made that while you're in the Airbnb. You now learned a valuable skill. And then you go home to your husband and you make him a golden milk latte. And then he's like, honey, how are you so amazing? Where did you learn this?
You're like, take me on vacation.
Exactly. So I think like the little touch points like that really go a long way in reframing. And I say everything is reframing. Reframing what it means to do something for someone, right? So if I knocked on their door and said, hey, here's a golden milk latte, they'd be like, whoa. All right, I'm in the middle of something, or
I'm in my pajamas.
Yes. What time do you wake up? I would like to bring you a golden milk latte. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so back to that is that the difference in guests, and this is how I've changed and our business and my businesses continue to grow, is having better quality products. I'm actually in the process. I'm going to be selling 2 3-family homes here in Rhode Island, and they're in working class neighborhoods, and they were actually Airbnbs. They perform well. Market rents would have drove like, let's say $1,700-$1,800 a month. Airbnb wise, we bring in like $3,200 a month per unit, right? So almost $10,000 a month on 1 3-family on Airbnbs. The difference though is that it's the working class neighborhood. There's no parks nearby. It's designed meticulously. It's incredible. We get rave reviews about the design. But the neighborhood, it's just like a bunch of 3-families, and it doesn't feel, and it's not the east side, right? It's not 3-family on the east side. So they kind of are like, oh, this Airbnb is great, but it's not like the other Airbnbs where it's like, okay, there's Roger Williams Park nearby, or there's lake access, or there's XYZ. And so what I'm noticing in my business, to your point, is it's worth investing in that bigger investment and that bigger property. So that way I can just spend more on all the little amenities that we kind of love to do instead of worrying about that $50 a night guest.
So you're selling these properties, and then you're going to move them to, like, where are you going to move that money to for your Airbnbs?
New Hampshire.
Great question. This is a little premature, and we're on a live podcast, but let's.
It's not live. We'll be out in like 2 months, a month and a half.
Edit.
Perfect. Yeah. So, and you'll get some inside scoop on this. So I'm really in the works to kind of do something big. So I'm actually looking at acquiring a boutique hotel.
Nice.
Or
What are you listening to? Like, what's his name? Sommers? Rich Sommers? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's been in my field for a while, but I don't think it was just him that kind of was in. I think it more comes down to economies of scale and systems and understanding that side of it.
It's also like relatively, I mean, it's different, but it is in the same space. Because like as an Airbnb, that's what I think people don't realize is that like you were running a miniature hotel.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, it sounds like you guys have really gotten to know exactly how to do it, but we'll get back. So
I want to add one thing with that, right?
Yeah.
Because this is like there's so many lessons in this journey. When we're in positions to be able to kind of execute, there's tons of opportunity. There's a saying, it says, you drive by more opportunity in a day than you can handle in a lifetime. And my goal, and I've been thinking about this for the last like month or two, has been I'm going to either acquire a boutique hotel, right, and really build it up and ramp it, or I'm going to build a wellness retreat. And so those are two things I'm really passionate about. And just recently,
I had like a dream about that last night. It's like a wellness retreat space to be able to like buy a piece of land and do all that.
Yeah. And so those are my two intentions right now. It's either one or the other. And just recently, I have this commercial property that came to me, and it's 15 residential units, 2 commercial spaces. It's a few $1 million, and it's kind of like if I do this deal, it's going to take me away from the boutique hotel or wellness retreat, but it's also like a phenomenal deal, and it doesn't mean I can't do those. So it's something that I'm in the process of like, okay, I'm doing my due diligence, running my numbers, doing the inspection, and it's still, I mean, the residential units could become Airbnbs. I could run it as a boutique hotel, but it's not what I envisioned as far as forming a boutique hotel or wellness retreat, but it is something that is a phenomenal commercial property that's off market, that has kind of come in my field.
And you could also cut them up into condos too.
Exactly.
And if you wanted to sell off pieces of it, you could.
Yeah.
Right.
So when you ask me why am I selling those properties, it's the first reason was just I've actually in my mission statement and in my core values, it's like I want higher quality. It's so important. It lines them to our corporate philosophy.
But I also think that comes with time, like as a human being, in order to be able to like receive more. It's like we also have to like want quality in general with the relationships we have, with the how we serve, people. So I think that's awesome.
Thanks.
What else?
I guess to finish that thought up, the whole mindset piece of this is you have to be hyper specific. Like, what does your morning visualization practice look like, and how specific are you with it? How intentional, and do you actually think about all the little pieces? Like, I don't. I have to think more about them. Go ahead. So you do what? So, for example, I'll ask you girls a question. Did you visualize being here in this moment today already prior to arriving?
No, I actually didn't.
No.
But I did have an outfit change for the second time.
I love that.
But you did?
Yeah. So I already had this podcast.
He's like, he already knows what we're gonna say. So it's already done.
Oh my
The whole podcast is done. I love this. Okay,
Someone asked me if I was a gypsy this past week, and I was like, no.
Kind of.
Yeah.
So you visualized today.
I visualized today, and I've seen some videos, right? So I know what the room looks like. I've walked through here Realty Studios, so I really visualized like laughing to Danielle and like obviously your energy is on another level, which everyone appreciates, but just kind of like being comfortable, being relaxed, and kind of not allowing nervousness or fear or anything that might kind of come inside and be like, hey, just talking about what I already do. There's nothing challenging about this, and ultimately like how this will start and unfold. And obviously this is unfolding in its own beautiful way. But I think that's a great piece of advice, is visualize what you're going to do, especially when it's something that you don't normally do, or when it's the next level of your being.
I love that.
I just want to chime in on what you said. I feel like just listening to you, I know we've met one time prior, but I feel like the wellness retreat is like, that's what you need to do.
Thank you.
Right? Am I right?
Totally.
I mean, I'm like, okay, boutique hotel, I'm sure you would like do well with it, but I just feel like hearing everything that you're saying, I can just see you like running a wellness retreat and
he's gonna take his
and
bun
rocking
out.
it,
Yeah,
and then
like,
giving us a discount. We'll go with the girls group, and we'll show up, and
Absolutely.
we're going to the wellness retreat, and we're gonna make the oat milk lattes.
No, but yeah, we are. No, but seriously,
Cold
like
plunge.
it's actually like for my 40th, my mom and sisters keep asking me like what I want to do. And they're like, we'll go to like Miami. And I'm like, I love that. But I actually want to go to like a wellness retreat where we all have to like meditate for the weekend, even if it's like, you know, go to somewhere where we're like going to a day spa and then we're like, yeah, we go listen out like to music or whatever, but just having that moment to like journal and be quiet and be introspective and be outrospective. I mean, be like all the things and create spaces to do that. But there's like, so I chat GPT'd like where I could do like what I wanted to do, but there's not a lot of spaces like that. And I think that would be amazing.
Yeah, that's why.
I know.
Yeah, there's not a lot of spaces on the East Coast of the States. I've been to wellness retreats all over the world. That's one of my passions. I travel a lot. And essentially what I find is on the West Coast, LA up and down, Santa Monica, San Bernardino Forest, San Diego, like all throughout Arizona, and then in all these different countries, like Indonesia and Japan and Taiwan and whatever the case may be, they have these and these go-to destinations. I don't know if it's our weather or what the case may be, but on the East Coast, I think we don't have much of it. And so the White Mountains is actually something I've been doing my due diligence on. Mm-hmm. And the reason being is there's a lot of baby boomers who are retiring. So if you guys are looking for opportunity, what I'd say is find baby boomers who've had these thriving or businesses that have been sustaining, right? Maybe they're not returning a lot, but they've been dilapidated, or maybe they've been not given the most TLC, and so they're just surviving, and then know how to see the opportunity to kind of go in there and say, okay, how can I add a little bit of investment to freshen it up? How can I build better systems? And then how can I make this older mom and pop baby boomer business, whether in any type of business this actually applies, and how can I spruce it up to make something that's attractive and that will be good for this market? So kind of that's my play.
Cool.
I like it.
Systems, like how are you guys making sure that your systems run properly, that you're not getting a million text messages from the guests? How are you curating that experience for the client and then on the back end as well?
At this scale, I would not be able to survive without systems. I am an automation kind of girl. I need my systems. I would be pulling my hair out if I didn't have my systems.
So what's like the tech that you use?
Luckily with Airbnb, it does provide a ton of automation, which is great. I've tried other websites and they don't have automation, so I just don't list there because I know the value of my time and I can't operate like that. I do link my Airbnb calendars with an app called Turno. And with that, my cleaners are automatically notified when there's a cleaning scheduled, and in that app we can communicate. They can send the photos of damages, so on and so forth. They can even request like stock items, so it just makes it more seamless because now I only need to check like one point.
Place.
So there's honestly like so many systems layered, but even something with, for example, Airbnb, I do a lot of automated messaging. So through the years I've learned like what guests ask, like what most guests ask. So I just provide it. It's like you don't have to ask me about parking because you got it in the message. When you book with me, you receive 5 to 7 messages, and these are for short-term rentals. And it's like here's the parking info, here's the info regarding pets or ESA. For the ones that have a hot tub, here's how to do it. The ones that have a pool, here's this. I mean, it's all there. And then every so often you'll have someone still ask a question and you have to chime in, but it's much more
It's less.
far and few in between. Way less. And I'll add things all the time. when I start getting too many questions, like
You're like, let's just put it up.
right,
It's
like
a question.
I just acquired a property last fall, and it has a tree house. So I get a lot of questions
Cool.
about like, how do we get into the treehouse? Can we sleep in the treehouse? Whatever, all the things. Like, do bears come to the treehouse? It's in New Hampshire, obviously, treehouse. But I'm like, so I've learned to like add certain things like that.
So
yeah,
can we sleep in the treehouse?
You can sleep in the
Okay.
treehouse.
Yeah, I was like,
I was gonna
what
say-
about the bears?
But you have to
That's
know.
fine. That's fine.
You don't bring snacks because the bears will smell it and they will be knocking at the door. So,
So you can sleep in the treehouse, just
in the
no
treehouse,
snacks.
just at your own risk. Maybe bring the bear spray. But yeah, automation, all the apps and layered, so that way.
What other
it's more of, like,
apps are you using?
It's more like less points of contact. I sync things to my own Google Calendar. I'm trying to like think out loud on all the apps, but Turno is my big one. Airbnb automation. We've tried Guesty.
I was
Do you
going to say
use
Guesty. So Guesty has been, I like Guesty,
I didn't love it.
but I didn't love it. I think I like Guesty, but I think that like sometimes it created more work, and like it was more
Right.
like, yes, I'm almost helping, like I'm getting the task done, but now I'm going through like these extra tasks that I didn't have to go through before. So maybe it cut down that hour, but it added 25 minutes. And so I found better ways to kind of circumnavigate that for sure. And then also like not just with the guest experience, but different things like price labs and using AirDNA and understanding like there's so many tools out there to
Price Lab and then
price labs and then AirDNA, and those will help you with understanding like the property. Now I will
are they close? Like, are they pretty close to the number?
So this is where I wanted to say one more thing to it.
It's like RPR for real estate agents. You're like, it gives me a ballpark, but then I need to go in like a little bit deeper.
But
My only thing with
yes,
those though
I was
is depending on like the type of property, because when I'm doing more luxury, I
Yes.
find the numbers to be way off.
way off. So what I was gonna say was exactly that. I think like it's a great base tool, right? But at the same time, also know what you put into this business with life. What you put into life, you get out of. And if you're putting in the hot tub, which is a great revenue generator, hot tubs do phenomenal because now you can.
Because who doesn't want to be in a hot tub on vacation?
And in the winter, if you look at, do this research, if you look at properties that have colder weather, so like let's say New Hampshire, the White Mountains,
Right.
and you look at the properties that have a hot tub, their occupancy rate is 3-4 times the average occupancy rate. So you might look at something like in a colder, I mean the White Mountains has snowboarding and skiing, so their occupancy rate will still be year round, but if it has a hot tub, you'll perform night and day better than what it says on AirDNA.
And that was something Danielle had said, is like your first picture on your listing should be your hot tub.
Yeah, I cycle them. So with my, because I have 4 in New Hampshire, so I will put them. It'll be hot tub, or 3 of them have a mountain view, so it's the view. It's like one or the other, and then one property there, it does not have a hot tub, and I see the difference in the numbers.
Interesting.
Like night and day.
Are you going to add a hot tub, or what's the plan?
So the hot tub broke there, so it's getting it replaced.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been some troubleshooting, but that's a must. So when you do your wellness retreat out there, you need a hot tub.
Absolutely. You could buy those like sauna things too, you know, the ones that are all wooden and and you could have like a cool view.
We can send him a checklist of what we want.
Yeah. It sounds like he's already done the research though. Indonesia, Japan.
Yeah, but I will say to that point, because I was like, oh, it'd be so great to start adding some like beyond hot tub, but adding saunas and adding cold plunges and to these Airbnbs, which everything's a numbers game. You got to do your numbers. But with that said, like economies of scale, if doing the wellness retreat, it's like, okay, I can add in 2 saunas and 2 cold plunges, and I have 12 or 20 cabins or whatever the case may be, yurts, cabins, geodomes, because economies of scale, it's going to be more beneficial to kind of go and add those rather than if I go out and purchase a sauna and a cold plunge for every single Airbnb. Now it's gonna kind of have a longer payback period. And that's kind of what's been driving me towards being like, okay, I love Airbnb, I love this piece of the business, how can I do this more efficiently and and on a bigger scale.
How much does Airbnb take? Like, what's their percent? What's their cut?
It actually ranges. So they have different, it's like a sliding scale. So they charge the guests and they charge the host. The midterm states have a different rate than the short-term rate. It's an algorithm.
Yeah, it is an algorithm.
And you have two options.
But I will say there are percentages, and I don't want to quote on these because it's one of those things where it's just like you accept it.
Yeah.
I used to know the percentages for the most part. I want to say around like 14%, but then there's like a 3.5%. And then the other thing is like,
so it's like around 20. If you were to say higher, less than that, but if you were to gauge, right? Just because I'm saying like people that are first getting started and thinking about Airbnbs, it's like, why not just give yourself a little bit more for these unexpected expenses that we might have.
Also, though, on that piece is that there's a piece, they charge a small fee to the guest based on what their booking amount is, and then a small fee to us as a host. So it's how you work the numbers, right? So if you look at what the guest is paying and then you do the percentage of what you're getting, but that's not how they calculate it. So you could do it that way, or you could be like, okay, the guest is paying this much, they take out a percentage, and then this is the amount that they're basing the percentage off of. So then that number is now, you have to do the mathematics to kind of equate it to the whole number. So it's two ways to look at it. But my advice to people is don't get caught up on that. People will come up with excuses of like, hey, Airbnb's taking too much, direct booking is the better business, or whatever the case may be. At the end of the day,
they're marketing for you too. Like you're paying,
offering liability coverage. There's automation. I don't like doing direct bookings.
I don't. Yeah. Well, people will say like, and I was, in case people didn't pick up on that, it was a sarcastic voice. Like, do direct bookings. Yes, if you build a business long term and scalable and so forth, like those are problems that you get to inherit. If you have 200 Airbnbs and you have all these guests, you should be sourcing them and taking in their info and then sending them offer packages, or it doesn't have to be 200 Airbnbs. But when you're starting out, or if you have 10 or 20 listings, like you really want to focus on where you can add the most value to your business. And that's going to be in having better systems and having a better product.
Right.
So for the people that are thinking about getting started, we had talked a little bit about this before the podcast, but it's like, who is the right person to start an Airbnb? Because I feel like you had mentioned people want to start it because it's passive income. Tell me how passive it is, Danielle. It's not.
It's the opposite of that, for sure. I think to get into Airbnb, you have to be, let me say this, to be a successful Airbnb host, you have to want more than just the financial gain of it. You have to care more than that. Because if it's just about the numbers, then go invest in commercial multifamilies. But for Airbnb, you have to have a creative mind. You have to have a solution-based mind. You have to care about making sure these properties are decorated. And yes, you can pay someone to do that, and that's fine. That's a little different if you're kind of putting it off. Most people that are looking to get into it to start, they want to manage it themselves, right? So I think you have to have that design touch. You have to care about the property. Maybe it's something with a personal gain that you're going to go vacation there with your friends and family. And you just have to be prepared to be involved. It's not like a long-term rental where they're going to be in place and you're going to hear a couple of complaints when they first get in. Remember, this guest is first getting in, a new guest every weekend. So those complaints about the house will be every weekend. You have to be detail-oriented.
So you're going to have to work on the weekend.
You have to be, Sunday mornings. Sunday mornings, I get so many checkouts. So some Sundays are golden, but then there's times where shit is hitting the fan and there's a problem at this house and there's a problem at that house and I'm getting all the messages from the cleaners. You got to be able to handle that. You got to be able to really cease the reins and know okay, how do I solve this problem efficiently so I'm not losing my mind?
What are some of those problems?
The cleaners come and there's been the cleaners come and there's been
people
a party
to know.
and the house is upside down. I've had people move. I have one particular property that's been a little party prone lately, it sleeps 16 to 18 guests. So someone might say I'm asking for it, but it's a large home. It's made for like groups of people, and I want them to enjoy the house, but like, please don't move my sofa to a different room. Why would you do this? Like, I don't understand. So there's these kinds of things. And it's just, but you know what? You know when that happens? When I'm not booked and I discount my rate. So
there we go. The $50 a night guest.
Exactly. So then I toy with it. Like, do I take the loss and not book and not drop my rate and not get booked? Or do I just kind of roll the dice? And
I'm so glad you're talking about this, because when I have done things that I don't feel like, so I personally do not allow on the midterm rentals automatic bookings. I want them to send an intro message, and to which we have a reply like, what brings you to town, what are your like XYZ, A, B, and C. And there's been a couple times where, like, based on their responses, I'm like, they're probably not the right guest. But because I'm seeing the number, seeing the revenue, like it's dates wise, it's someone's checking out and they're checking in, and they're someone just stayed there 2 months and they're same day going to stay another month. And even though I've had those messages and I'm not feeling good about it, I'm like, you know what, they're going to be fine. Those are the guests that end up not being well, or the, like you said, discounted guests.
Yep.
So I'm glad you hit on that.
Yep.
And morally, I think in this business, doing the right thing, right? Have we heard of the 4 agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz? And one of them, he's like, be impeccable with your word. So I want to share this quick story I had just happened this last week, and it's still like, it happened like, it came up again yesterday, but it was so interesting because I have this property in Cranston, and it's near Rhode Williams Park. Nice area, people love it. I have bicycles in the garage, kayak to go on the river. Like, it's a really great property. And long story short, I had this guest. It's always booked up, and like, if someone checks out, the next day someone's in, and these are midterm rentals. That's it, right? So people are in there for a month, 2 months, or 3 months, and there's like occupancy rates 99%. And I had this guest come out and see the property, because sometimes guests will say, hey, especially on midterm, can I visit the property? So I told this guest I'd give him a discount. Granted, they're paying $7,000 a month, right? So we agreed. Her original booking request, I would have got $8,200, but then she was like, hey, will you do it for $7,000? Well, this particular person, they were coming for the right reason. It was actually their parents who were coming to visit from China, right? So they wanted to be nearby for a month. She was respectful. She presented well. She was everything I was looking for in a guest. She had the right questions. She had the right approach. She said the right things. And so I agreed to like let her book it for $7,000 for the month. And the check-in day was going to be the same day my other guest checks out. Well, what happens? Before I could even go in and block the calendar, we had a handshake agreement. I got a request for someone else to book it on the same exact check-in date for 2 months. And that person was going to pay $8,250 per month. So it was going to be $16,500 for 2 months. And I was like, oh my God, like I shook her hand, and like 2 hours later I got this request, and it's for more money and it's for a longer duration. And I was like, but if it was like apples to apples, it'd be fine, but it's not. And so I was kind of torn. And so I actually didn't reply to that guest who had sent the $8,250. I was like, let me get a couple hours to kind of like think about it. So I thought about it, and I'm like, okay, what is my moral compass and what's important to me? And it's being impeccable with my word. So I messaged the girl at $7,000 a month, and I said to her, hey, great meeting you. Just want to see your actual level of interest, because I did just have someone else request a book. And she's like, no. Like I said to you, I want a book, and I have the deposit check. I'll make the booking now, whatever the case has to be. And then what happens is, so I agree to book with her. Great. So I agree to book with her, and so I book with her. I tell her. And now just yesterday, my current guest, who is actually a Rhode Island resident, who had a leak or a pipe burst in her home, she has the insurance company paying, and they're paying me right now
interesting.
$8,000 a month.
That's
right?
kind of an interesting way
For the
to...
midterm,
For the midterms, it happens. So
Can you just like get in touch with insurance companies and be
I do.
Yeah.
I have tons of contacts.
There's placement companies that you can get on the list and like register your
I feel like
rentals.
that would be more my vibe.
Yeah.
If I were like invest in Airbnb.
Why do you think that is?
Just because it's like too many people. like for the short-term rentals, like the week ones. And I'm sure I'm just maybe less.
But the short-term rentals book themselves, whereas the midterm rentals, you have to be on top of making sure that they're filled more often. That's what I have experienced. Yes, they'll book from time to time, but like the short-term, I could be getting bookings right now, and it's doing its job. Whereas the midterm, it's like I'm on Furnish Finder, and I'm on Airbnb, and I'm on Zillow, and I'm on ALE, and I'm with Covered, and it's like...
I disagree a little bit. I agree some sort, but what I will say is that what we do is that we fill those gaps with short terms, right? And then on top of that, the difference is that, so she has short-term rentals, right? And people are gonna, what people would think is like, oh, why would they pay, like my midterm rental fee is up here, why not just book it on hers? Well, the thing with hers, or not yours, but a short term, is that in a week from now or 2 weeks from now, she has a booking for 2 nights. So she doesn't have the availability. So if you look at the number of listings on Airbnb, but then you look at the number of listings that have midterm rental availability, so there's actually much fewer options in my space. And so what I'm finding, and I get tons of guests, this is the sauce right here that I feel like my guests tell me all the time, I could not find a place like this that's geared towards midterm rentals. And the ones that are midterm rentals on Airbnb do not cater to the degree that we cater, in the sense of having the strainers and having the utensils.
It's more bare bones.
It's bare bones.
Yeah.
So all the midterm rentals, or not all, most of the midterm rentals that are out there, it's people who have a long-term rental who are like, hey, let me just throw it up on there because I have a bed. Again, fight to quality, back to 2020. Those people are still living in 2020 thinking that you can produce the same results with the old thinking patterns. That's not the case. Right? And so what I'm finding is that my midterm rentals are booked up, like, honestly, 10 months of the year. They are so booked up. 2 months of the year is where I really have to drop prices and so forth, because we have cold winters.
Or just get in touch with those insurance companies.
And sometimes, it does.
That's a good
out,
idea,
right?
yeah.
But what I will say is that that's the difference. People say, I can't find a property like this that's available for 1 or 2 months. And so what I realize, and I've come to realize this, is I've brought up my prices higher and higher, and they still would get booked. And so AirDNA would tell me that particular Cranston property, it's like, okay, it's $4,500 is what I should list it at. That's what they told me. My mortgage on that property is like $2,200, right? So they're like $4,500. So that would get booked up right away. I put it up to $5,500. It'd get booked up. I put it up to $7,000. This is the first summer I put it up to $8,000, and it's still getting booked.
Wow.
And so I'm like, wow, what is going on here? This is like such an opportunity.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And the full circle of that story, my current guest, who has her insurance company paying, she broke down the numbers. She said, listen, they were going to put me in a hotel, and on the average daily night and everything, we were going to spend, think about it, $250 a night times 30 nights, right? And she's like, we're saving, she was like, we're saving like 40% than what we would have spent on a hotel, because a hotel might be a bedroom, but they might need 2 suites or two rooms at a hotel, right?
You just want to eat.
Or eat, yeah.
And be together. Yeah, they prefer the house.
So this is the full circle part of it. She offered to pay $9,000 per month to stay an extra 3 months. And so because I gave this girl my word at $7,000 a month, 2 hours later I got someone at $8,250 for 2 months, and now I have my current guest wanting to pay me $9,000 for 3 months. So that's $27,000 in 3 months, to which I reluctantly had to say no. I can't, because I gave this woman my word, and I think that's the difference maker. Even though it like feels like I'm losing out, I'll say that I feel better, and who knows.
Was she a pain though?
What'd you say?
Was she a pain? The discounted girl?
She hasn't checked in yet. So my current guest is in there, and
so we shall see. This is like to be continued.
She's not going to be a pain. I met her in person. Her parents are coming from China. She attends RISD. Like, they just want to be nearby. She lives in a dorm. Like, they will not be a pain.
I'm just kidding. It was just like that.
No, you're right.
So if you guys were to talk to your younger selves back in 2020 when we first got started in Airbnb, what would be your piece of advice?
My piece of advice, this is easy. Don't be afraid. Jump in and
just do it.
Just go for it. Because in 2020, I purchased my first one in Newport. The first one was in Newport. But originally, I was supposed to buy my first one in New Hampshire. And I was afraid. I was afraid to buy so far away. So I started in Newport, and I did go a little slower because I really wanted to like learn the reins. And I wish I had not like held myself back so much, because I see myself now like any opportunity I'm just kind of grabbing. Had I not been afraid back then, I would have done it more. So I feel like I would have been, 5 steps ahead right now.
That's everything in life, though.
Before I reply, I just want to highlight how like beautiful your expression is of your emotion. You can tell she loves it. You can tell it, and I love that, because she's like excited. She's like, she's like thinking back to when you first started, and she's like, young Danielle Alba, like
I'm still young.
Yes, you are. You are.
Hello.
My 21st birthday last week, by the way. No, you are so young. I love that, 100%. But I meant a younger version of yourself, and like you took us back, and I felt like I was there with you. So I know, I can tell you love what you do. I love that it shows, and I think that's a big piece. You have to enjoy this. It's not just the passive income side of it, but like for me, I've fallen in love with like improving my design skills and just being creative and thinking of like, okay, how can I've started to add garden beds and I buy patio sets and I just learned 2 weeks ago about fireplaces and like the different types and so forth. And even though I don't build them, it's like I create the vision in my mind. I do some research, and then I tell my guys, this is what I want done and this is how I want it done. And then when it comes to life, it is the most rewarding thing for me. And so I realized like that is a true like cycle of like why I love this, right?
Right.
So I love that about you as well.
I love that about you. You have the passion too. That's why I'm like, open that wellness retreat.
Yes.
I think.
All right.
I think you'll do well.
My advice was going to be something similar, but I'll add something else. It was going to be, I wish I would have known to buy all in, right? Like to be fully committed and not worry about if I would fail, because my portfolio would be 10 times the size. My piece of advice that's not the same piece of advice as yours would be, and we touched on it a few times today, and I think this is really important, is systematically valuing your time. We are now incorporating more VAs, thanks to you as well. Thanks for a great introduction.
Executive assistants.
Yes.
Calling them executive
assistants. Yes, exactly. But for the audience to understand, executive systems, more staff, and more staff on the operation side. So, for example, one thing that has helped me tremendously is, this was about 1.5 years ago, instead of me actually being that line of defense to guests, right? So it's our systems first, and then instead of me being that person, I actually have my business partner and co-host. He's there as well. So all those maintenance requests, he'll be on top of it. He'll respond to. Like this morning, we had 3 maintenance requests come in, which is not typical. But I was in a meeting this morning, and by the time I looked at my phone, they had all been responded to. So it was like really great, right? And so that system. So knowing the value of your time, and actually asking yourself, okay, like where is my skill set best utilized, and how can I do a better job at like writing down how I spend my time. Because if you ask someone, I'll give you a quick exercise. I'll do this with, actually we'll do it live. Okay, ready? What's most important to you is my first question. In life, forget about Airbnb, in life. Give me like
as a human being.
2 or 3 things.
Family.
Okay, family.
Oh gosh, I don't know. So much pressure. Family, being present, and health.
Okay, great. So family, present, health. Okay. Now this is part 2 of the exercise. If I were to go through your calendar and go through and audit your day.
He's been reading Dan Martell, Buy Back Your Time.
If I were to audit your day, right? And say like, okay, what percentage of your day do you spend with family?
I'd have to do the number, but every day I make time for my daughters.
Beautiful. You're an incredible, powerful mother. But if you were to put a percentage-wise, would it be 10, 20, 25, 40?
Well, they go to school too.
No, of course. And so I guess I'm not doing this exercise to belittle your beautiful schedule and your systems. What I'm saying is that the point of this is that people will say they value certain things, but then you look at how they spend their time and it doesn't equate, right? And so you're probably someone who does equate, and you're one. That's why you're
probably
high
just not
performing.
the being present, because I operate multiple businesses, so it's kind of like that's a little tough. But like the family time is in my calendar. Like
that.
there's just always something. Health is I go to the gym, or I do a yoga class, or do a walk. Like I do something health related every day.
Nice.
So those two, I'll toot my own horn and say I definitely do those. But yeah. So what is this book? I need to read this book.
Oh, Dan Martell, Buy Back Your Time.
Okay.
This wasn't just from that, but I've taken
Okay.
pieces from that
Yeah.
book. But I think that the point of it is high performers will, like yourself, will equate what they say is important to them and how they spend their time versus the average Joe will say, hey, my religion, my family, and myself is the most important in my life. But then you realize they spend time on this leisure activity, or like, and it's great to have hobbies, but they'll spend like they'll know every sports team and every statistic and all these things. And it's like, you just told me that your family is most important, but you catch every single NBA basketball game, right? And you know every player and their statistics. Well, do you know your business and yourself that well? And so it's a great exercise for people to do, to actually be like, okay, like I'm talking about auditing every single hour of your day and then writing it down and then putting it into a category to then generate a report and say, okay, it looks like I actually care about this. And so I can make the change to align with what I actually care about to have a more efficient life.
Yeah. And I think, I'm reading Dan Martell's like the physical version of it now. But he talks about that too, is just like where you're getting the most energy, getting the most value in your day. And so it was funny, like even with the podcast, he was like, if you're going to do content, he's like, make sure that you book out your day so that it's going back to back to back. So you're in the same like space for the day. So I have my outfit changes in between every single podcast. But yeah, I think that if we really take the time and think about where we're good, where our highest and best use is, like, don't put me in front of a computer doing contracts. Like, there's someone else who can do it better. And he talks about not even doing it better, but just getting to that like they do 80% of it. You come in with the first 10, hey, I need you to do this. They come in with the other 80%, and then you come in with the last 10%. And so I think that that's like so important, because it really allows us to be like authentic and shine and full energy, fully present when we're really thinking about the things that, add value to our lives, and also like monetarily, but also add the energy. It's not like an energy suck. So that's going to be my last question. Well, I'll do two questions to you guys. What is your like mantra, your life mantra or advice? He's got it.
You go first. I gotta think about it.
I have a list of mantras.
Show off.
No,
Teacher's pet.
No, what? All right, first of all, Meg's a teacher. I'm not passing the class.
I'm just teasing.
I think, okay, so I think it's important to change your mantras, because it's like, what are you going through and so forth. So for mine, it's more holistic, as well as like it's not just Airbnb focused. Like it's like I am all powerful and all knowledgeable, yet I know nothing. I am strong. I am courageous. I am divine. I am spirit. I am love. I am frequency, and I am aura. I will flow and move through the day as we are all one, and I am you and you are me. My light sees your light, and your light sees mine. So let me move with non-judgmentalness, and let me move with love in all things and in every way. Let's have a great day. And that's like one that
we're going to put this shit on repeat in my car every
This is
day.
a tough one to follow.
I let you go first.
I'm really sorry, Danielle.
I let you go first.
You're like, I love my family.
That's a center of like, for me to remember, like, hey, we are all human, and we are all in different stages, and we've also been younger versions of ourselves, and we have a lot to learn and a lot to grow. So that's like a piece of that, like the duality of
Yeah,
who we are.
it's like the yin and the yang,
Yeah.
like the light
one
and the
of my
dark.
properties
I
is
love
called
that.
the Yin and Yang Harmony Home.
Nice.
That's funny, yeah. But that's one of them, and I won't go through all of them, but we can go back and forth with mantras.
Mine are short and sweet. One that I use all the time actually is done is better than perfect. And because I am a bit less analytical of like my portfolio and my numbers, where I kind of, especially, and we're talking Airbnb, so like in this Airbnb space, I do have multiple investments in certain markets, so I know the market so well. So it's kind of like the new property that I just bought last fall is across the street from one that I own, so I didn't really have to do numbers, right? I already knew what they were. So for me, it's, yes, I analyze less, but I'm a perfectionist to a fault. So I had to start telling myself, like, done is better than perfect. Like, let's just get this done. It's okay if it's not absolutely perfect. It's better that it is off the checklist and it's done, and it's now you can move on to the next thing. Because with juggling like multiple businesses, I found that I just couldn't focus too much on one being absolutely perfect and then have another one failing. It's kind of more like, I guess this turns into like I began delegating and hiring staff and all that. So by delegating, it's like done is better than perfect. You have someone doing the 80% and they're going to do it better than me. Even if I thought I was doing it perfect, it's done and it's off my plate. So like done is better than perfect is a big one for me.
I like that. That's really good.
Yeah,
really
it's
good.
not as in-depth as yours, but it's it does work for me.
Comparison's a thief of joy. That was really good. All right.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
So
Comparison's the thief of joy. That is true.
Yeah, that's one that I think it's like, for me, it's not cliche. For me, it's like, it's truly powerful because I think we do that as humans. Like, as great as Meg is, if you compare her to you, like, that's not going to solve
I always say
anything.
there's no comparison because we were a
comparison.
totally different person.
Yeah,
When we grew up, we had
people.
totally different
Exactly.
lives.
and that's what people get caught up on, right? Even they're like, oh, look at this Airbnb host, the Taylor Swift house. Like, if I sit here and I'm like, why didn't I think of that? Or why don't I do a Michael Jackson home? Like, no, because the divine
Good
timing
idea.
of when you did it, right, as well. The
right.
divine timing of how the story came to be.
Right.
You were she was on tour. You were thinking about her. It like came to you idea, and that's those ideas that inspire, right? Versus being the copycat, which is like, oh, she did this. Let me do some other Kim Kardashian or whatever the case may be. It doesn't, and then it won't perform the same.
Right.
And so that's why another like piece of mantra advice for people, and that kind of like yours was, nobody can be a better you than you, and don't you forget it. So why don't you be it? And like that's a piece where it's like, Meg is one of the most uniquely distinct people that I know.
She is.
And I love it.
No one has
Thanks, guys.
Meg energy. But it's true. I mean, so many
Did
people.
you say MAGA energy? No.
No, we did not say that in this
I'm
podcast
Meg
room.
energy. Meg, we're not going politics here.
I'm kidding.
Get
out of
here.
But just so many people, so many different walks of life and different groups we've kind of like crossed paths in, right? What does everyone say? Meg has a special, a unique energy. It's unmatched.
I'm like, do it. Just do it. You got this. What? Thank you. Books. What book or podcast would you like recommend, or are you like reading or listening to now that's really like got you going?
Well, right now, I like, I do audiobooks for anything that's kind of like self-motivation or any of that. So my gym playlist right now is the Let Them book by Mel Robbins. I began finding myself, instead of, sometimes I'll do music at the gym, but I've just really I really enjoy doing an audiobook because I just really zone out and I'm doing my workout and it's kind of like,
It's like
mind and body going on.
Yeah.
It's great. So that's what I'm listening to right now.
I love that.
It's a good one.
I'm going to give you 3 books, but being intentional with this, I felt like the question would be coming. I'm not going to give you the books that everybody gives you because
You know what's interesting though? It's not everyone's had different books one guy actually he was like telling me like, he's like, yeah, we have like the new IRS or not IRS, but like whatever new like lending standards. Like that was his book of choice. I was like, all right, I don't think we're going to put that on the, on the recommendation.
No, really?
No, it was not
It was
Glenn.
not. I don't
No,
think
it was,
Glenn-
no, it was the
Glenn's-
lenders. No,
Yeah, I
no,
was
no.
gonna say.
He's like, I haven't read in years
does
now.
the lending.
Yeah, but Glenn is just such a great human. I feel like he would. He's one of the most intelligent men I know.
He was on the last podcast talking about tax sales.
The DSM-5 psychoanalysis. Of,
Yeah, I was like, what are you saying, Glenn? Speak to me in layman's terms.
So what I meant by typical, what people will usually recommend: Think and Grow Rich, Rich Dad Poor Dad, things like that. Phenomenal reads. But
They
you've
are
heard them.
good, yeah.
I want to give you 3 reads that maybe you haven't heard of. Okay. Number 1, Life's Golden Ticket, and it's talking about like second chances and the value of life and how I think we live too much in our past, right? So you realize you have about 70 to 80,000 thoughts a day, but the majority of those thoughts are repeated. And so what's happening is you're actually living in the past of what you already experienced. And so we have to really like psychoanalyze what our thoughts are and where they derive from and how can you change them to have new thoughts, right? So like the reason we have emotional responses to things is because we bring ourselves back into that memory and then we feel those emotions and we carry them into the now. Guests will have a request, and the fact that you're still pondering this for days means you're living in the past from when that guest had that request or a bad review or something. Not that I honestly haven't had bad reviews. I've had like the worst ever, 3-star once, but I just 4 just rarely, and I get a lot of 5 stars. Proud to say we average 4.9 stars. But I think back to the book, it's like this life is so crucial, and then the piece of advice is really understanding, okay, we have these thoughts, and so how can we make them new and exciting thoughts, and how can we just solve the previous thought so we can move on from it and let it go. So that's 1. Number 2 is the Celestian Prophecy. Have you heard of that, either of you? It is an incredible spiritual book. Again, being intentional about adding books that people probably haven't heard of. But this book is like, I swear, it's like a magical, you open it up to any page and it's exactly what I'm going through. And it will talk about like traumas and like generational traumas and healing and wounding and how, like, for example, I'll give you a piece. A lot of the thoughts that I think or have thought were actually thoughts that were passed down to me without my subconscious understanding that was the case. So I'd have opinions towards things that I actually hadn't done the research on or hadn't evaluated. And so I had to retrain my mind and retrain my being to say, okay, what do I believe in? And I'll give you a thought to kind of give that example. My grandmother and mother both were like, women with tattoos, they are not good. Or they're not good. They're
sorry,
like,
Mom.
yeah, they are not good partners and wife material or whatever the case may be. And so growing up, I had tons of friends who had tattoos, female friends as well. But I was like, if a woman has a tattoo, she can't be my future wife, right? And so like I had this whole mode of thinking. This is the ironic part. My partner now and the mother of my child, incredible, beautiful woman, is covered in tattoos. Both arms and even neck and everything, chest, and she's a divine, beautiful woman. But it's the work that I've done to kind of reflect on, hey, that wasn't my thought, and what is it about that? And what they were referencing was their older generational thinking, which was like people in gangs had tattoos to represent the gang, but they didn't do the work. So it's up to us, and like through reading this book and other books, to understand, okay, we have to do the work to heal what our ancestors didn't heal, and we have to heal any traumas that have happened to us, so that way we can be better for our future offspring and generations and for our community and our friends. So that's number 2. And then number 3, Life's Golden Ticket, Celestian Prophecy. Oh, this one's good. So one of my favorite things is anthropology, which is the study of human behavior. And through that, if you can tell, I'm a big fan of articulation of thought. So it's a book called The Super Communicators. And it is a phenomenal read in understanding like how people communicate, to why, to what's it meaning, and like understanding, like, so thought, conversation. I'm going to take this conversation with you and I. People think a one-on-one conversation is just one mode of thought, me speaking to you, you speaking to me. That's not the case. What is actually happening here, and this is advanced because it's 3 ways, is that I have a complex idea in my head, all right? And this complex idea is actually not in words. It's in emotions, words, thoughts, feelings. It's in things that I can't describe. And so I have to use my limited lexicon to break down this complex idea to say, okay, how can I convey this thought to the audience or to the person I'm speaking with? So then I choose the subset of words from my vocabulary to kind of go ahead and share this. Well, what happens is now you have also a limited understanding of words and a limited lexicon.
It's true.
So you take on those words, right? And you now have to take those thoughts and you create your own imagery in your own head of what that idea is. And so now what ends up happening, you know the kids' game of telephone? Remember when we were kids and we would play that?
Yep.
Right? So this is like that times 10, is that we're actually having different thoughts. We think we're talking about the same thing, but only there's overlap for sure, but only pieces and parts of it is the same thing. We're actually having a conversation as if we're talking about the same thing when it's actually different thoughts, right? And that's why. And then what happens is...
And interpretations.
Interpretations, exactly. And then you respond on what your interpretation of that thought is, to which this process repeats itself. And now my thought moves in a direction and your thought moves in a direction. And we hope it moves in the same direction, but it's never going to be the same.
Love it.
Interesting. Perception is everything.
It
That's
is.
why we're all walking into the conversation with whatever is going on in our world. So,
But I think that's like part of like whatever what you were talking about, being more present. And it's like, even just like meeting Steven, he just makes you like slow down.
Right.
And you're like, oh, right. Hi.
right.
Like, how are you? How's your day? Not like this and that and all the things that you're thinking about. So thank you guys so much for coming on. I wanted to ask you how people can get in touch with you, but also I know you have a subset business that can help, Airbnb hosts as well. And if there was anything else you wanted to add, feel free to do that.
So anyone that wants to reach out, my name is Danielle Alba. I have, So anyone that wants to reach out, my name is Danielle Alba. They can reach me at myhostability@gmail.com. Or contact me 401-808-2076.
I love that. Yeah, my name is Stephen London. You want to reach out to me at casascollective@gmail.com, and my number is 401-632-7490. Just reach out, frame the question well, and I'm so happy to add value or help in any way. But I ask people to come prepared and come with intentional questions or an intentional value seek so we can make the most of our time.
I love that. But hostability, I know you want it. Don't you? You help other Airbnb.
Yes.
How do you help them?
So Hostability, I founded Hostability in 2022. So with that, I do management for Airbnbs. And really it started with doing design work because I had so many people coming to me to help design their short-term rentals. I know we keep using this term Airbnb. To design their short-term rentals, their vacation homes is what I like to lean into. So I do the design. I can even help with acquisition. I do have real estate partners in New Hampshire, as well as down south, Florida, as well as Dominican Republic. So, yeah, I help with the acquisition, design, management, starting up. So kind of full service or a la carte business for Hostability.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then, that's really cool. I love Hostability, and I love your branding behind it. So
Thanks.
It's very intentional.
Thank you.
And then I myself, Stephen London, I'm actually a cash buyer, but I've also partnered with people on deals or helped fund people and kind of have helped them in different stages. I recently actually staged someone's house, which was really cool and really was a brand new thing, but I found a lot of joy and passion in it. But what I do most is I buy off-market properties, and I help. This is part of our corporate philosophy, is we turn houses into homes, homes into experiences, and experiences into love, because love is at the root of everything we do. And so kind of I can really help you from A to Z, whether it's the acquisition side or just giving you some advice on like what to look for and not to look for. But my advice to people is you just got to go out and do it. It's the optimistic person will always succeed, and no matter what you do.
And then you reiterate.
Yeah, exactly.
You're just like, well, that didn't work. Let's not do that again.
Exactly. And it's who you allow yourself to listen to and the environment you choose to have. I mean, that's your soil.
It's huge. Well, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate you guys all coming and listening to The Landlady Listens. Join us anytime to learn about literally anything with investing. So I'm so grateful for you guys to come on, and I really appreciate you, and we will see you next time. Bye. That's it for today's episode of The Landlady, where we turn your vision into a reality. Remember, success starts in your mind before it ever shows up in your life. Keep believing, keep building, and more importantly, keep taking action. And until next time, trust the process, bet on yourself, and go create the life that you deserve. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Love you.